And that jarring cacophony tells you you're back with the Power of Three podcast. The podcast that comes from Scotland, but we don't like to talk about it much. I'm Kenny Smith, and today we're joined by Ronald, a name that you may recognise if you're a big Finnish fan. Al, or Alan to give him his Sunday name, is, guess what? He's Scottish, and he grew up, well, not very far away from where I am sitting from right now, probably about 6 miles away, as the crow flies. Or probably less than that, actually. Anyway, that doesn't matter. We're talking with Al, who wrote Big Finish's The Paternoster Gang story, I Married a Zygon, and the recent 7th Doctor Adventures audio story, The Ingenious Gentleman, which was part of the Wicked box set. Al's also written for Dark Shadows. He wrote the short story The Reflected Man, which was released as part of the Dreams of Long Ago collection, released way back in 2017. And more recently, he's written The Cracks Are Showing, part of the Big Finish Comedy Playhouse. This is a series of 6 brand new comedy pilots available for £19.99 from bigfinish.com as a download only. What can I tell you about The Cracks Are Showing? Well, it's written by Al and his writing partner Cy Henty. Together they're known as the Electric Head. And when Karloff goes for an interview to be an office scapegoat, he is found to be too optimistic for the position and is thrown out of the window. In his death, he's joined by painter and philosopher William Blake on a metaphysical quest through the underworld to find out who is responsible for humankind's misery. The Cracks Are Showing is performed by the writers, and they are joined for additional voices by Barnaby Edwards, who you may recognise as one of the Dalek operators in Doctor Who in the 21st century, and of course he's directed and appeared in one hell of a lot of Big Finish as well. Last time I saw him was September 2024 at the Stuff of Legend, when he was directing the 8th Doctor story live. In fact, we actually had him on an episode of Pieces of 8th when we went behind the scenes on that. But let's stop talking about the 8th Doctor. Let's talk about the 7th Doctor, the Paternoster Gang, and a bit of comedy. Here he is. Here's today's guest.
My name's Alan Ronald. I'm a writer. I've recently written for Big Finish, including, you want me to go way back, Dark Shadows. I wrote a short story for Dark Shadows. I've written a Paternoster Gang episode. I've written a 7th Doctor episode. And coming out soon, maybe out by the time you hear this, I've written an episode for the Comedy Playhouse called The Cracks Are Showing, which is a little bit different to the other stuff.
Yes, it is. Having had a quick look over that, then yes. So, when did your love of a particular television show begin?
I assume you're talking about Doctor Who.
No, Coronation Street, because we are the Coronation... No, of course it is.
Yeah, so when I first saw Coronation Street, it really made an impact. It was the Daleks. I was thinking about this the other day. What is my earliest memory of Doctor Who? I think... Do you ever ask yourself that? Do you know?
I actually do know.
You do know?
It's
I thought I knew.
Image of the Fendal.
Okay, yeah, and you distinctly remember at that moment, that one.
There's bits, yeah, when it's talking about destroying humans, because I asked my mum, what are humans?
Interesting. Well, the moment that's in there for me as what I thought was my first moment is the Dalek flying up the stairs at the end of Remembrance of the Daleks. But when I actually looked at it, I thought that's a little bit late on from where my love of Doctor Who would be. When I actually started to put the pieces together, I felt a bit timey-wimey, as they say, and I realised it must have been earlier. So I don't know. I remember the first VHSs I think I had, so that would be Revenge of the Cybermen, Day of the Daleks, but I think that's where I kind of locked in. It's just not as, I remember playing it, so I must have been playing it before then, climbing in the wardrobe, pretending it was a TARDIS, and all that stuff. And I went to see The Ultimate Adventure when I was little, so I assume that was
Pertwee version or the Colin Baker one?
it was Pertwee that we saw in
King's Theatre Glasgow. Excellent.
King's Theatre Glasgow, yep. And I distinctly remember that blowing my mind when the TARDIS materialised, not understanding how it was even possible, and me being very excited, and my dad coming out at the interval or the end or whatever it was, being slightly more confused than I was as a child, who just took it at face value, whereas I think he was a bit like, well, that was odd. So yeah, I think that is my earliest memory, but maybe because the Dalek flying up the stairs was the first one that I saw live, I suppose. Maybe the first broadcast that I really, that's when I locked in as, well, this isn't leaving me ever. I think that was that one. Also remember, I've got some photos somewhere from, I believe it was Paisley Library.
1991, that would be. And they had a fan exhibition.
Yeah, sorry, I have photos of me there.
I know, but 89, sorry. And then it was 89 was the fan exhibition. And then it was 92 and 93 was when the JNT organised shows were there.
Wow, I should have spoken to you sooner instead of trying to piece together fragments of memories from my life. So yeah, I distinctly remember being at that in my Ace jacket, or what I thought was my Ace jacket. It was just a bomber jacket with some NASA badges on it, but it was as close as I could get. So yeah, that's my earliest memories, I think.
Wow. So tell us a bit about your professional life, because obviously I have been aware of your work as a writer for a while, and and doing comedy and things like that.
Yeah, I think I just don't seem to be able to follow a straight path. I try desperately to just follow a straight writing path, but I've tried a bit of everything. So I've written a lot of comedy. I perform comedy in a comedy double act called The Electric Head, along with Cy Henty, my comedy partner. We've been doing that for many, many years across various forms of live sketch shows, every fringe, podcasts, radio shows, pilots, everything. And then this year, we went to the Edinburgh Fringe for the first time with an improv show, because why not? So we did 24 different shows over 24 nights. I have very little memory of all of them, but they went down very well. We got some nice reviews, and on top of that, tying into Big Finish, we won the Big Finish Comedy Playhouse competition. So we were one of 6 scripts to go into production for that set, and we also won the Godfathers of Comedy Award out of that shortlist, I think. I'm not entirely, I can't remember. It was great. So yeah, that has been made and finished, and Big Finish were kind enough to put us in there to play those characters again as well, which was fun. I also write for a professional wrestling company, so that's another side hustle.
Wow, didn't see that one coming.
It's a bit of a curveball, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can see you want to ask me more about that. Everyone always does.
Crikey, I'm not often... yes, absolutely. I'm just sort of... Which level of wrestling are we talking about? Is it like a local wrestling league or anything like that?
So I have worked for around, must be 11 or 12 years now, for a British independent company called Progress Wrestling. So my background, I studied film and TV, so I've made films, I've made, again, back to writing, I've made my own indie horror movies that I released. That was probably my first step into writing and making stuff. And that led me to film for a wrestling company that I then ended up being a writer for. And essentially, to go back to Coronation Street, that is basically what I'm writing on these wrestling shows, is a soap opera in spandex, which is tons of fun. That's included time travel, horror, every genre has crossed into wrestling. And that led me for a little while to work for WWE when they had their UK arm called NXT UK. So I worked there for 3 years, producing videos, which I don't think I was ever really credited as a writer, because the wrestling industry is weird, but essentially that's what the job was. So yeah, it's been strange.
Yeah. Any wrestlers with outlandish, outstanding names that you can recall off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, well, a lot of what I did was character development. That's sort of where my interest was. So the storylining and the characters, where to even begin? There are so many weird people that have come through wrestling. A lot of them gone on to big things. Lyra Valkyria, who's currently quite big in WWE. I started working with her under the name Valkyrie at NXT UK, and we helped kind of realize her idea for a character that was based on Black Swan, the Darren Aronofsky kind of visuals. That was the starting point. Then there's Chuck Mambo, the time traveling surfer. So that's fun too. I can't even begin. Wrestling's a strange place. You think Doctor Who's weird? Wrestling is a strange place.
I know nothing about wrestling, but I've just looked up Lyra Valkyria and I'm suddenly a fan. So
yeah, she's pretty great.
Yes, she is. Anyway, right, moving on. So, how did Big Finish come into your life?
So yeah, Dark Shadows was a long time ago, and then that was a few years ago, and then I applied for the Comedy Playhouse. I'd sort of been in touch with Big Finish for a long time, pitching ideas, but just nothing was what they wanted at the time. It just didn't click. But I'd been in touch with quite a few people, and tried to wait for that moment, to get the break to actually write something. In the meantime, myself and Sai submitted a script for the Comedy Playhouse, which we won. At the same time as the first script that I wrote was actually my 7th Doctor script, which I hadn't been commissioned for when we won the competition. Thankfully, because if I had, we wouldn't have been eligible for the competition. And I think the commission came, I was asked to pitch. Just after that, I can't remember the timeline, but the commission came maybe 3 or 4 weeks after the Comedy Playhouse announcement. So it was a massive relief because, as I said to Sally, if I had to choose between my longtime comedy partner and Doctor Who, I don't know what way that's going to go. I can't make any promises that I would be loyal to him. So luckily I didn't have to. Yeah, so the first one I wrote was the 7th Doctor, which was... Yeah, that was The Ingenious Gentleman. That was my pitch. That was the one that got noticed by Matt and Emma, just as an idea that was worth doing, really. So that was the one that got through the net. Is that the right phrase? Got through the net? Yeah, that sounds right.
It's funny how it's the first one you did, but it's the most recent one released.
Yeah, so based on that one, because it's quite... Obviously, I have a background in writing comedy, and so I always have quite a lot of humour in the scripts. And that seemed, I guess, to Matt like a natural fit for the Paternoster Gang. So I very quickly got that one to do next, which was tons of fun. It's a ridiculously fun script to write, the Paternoster. A tricky one, but very fun.
Yeah. So let's go back to The Ingenious Gentleman, since it's just out and it's the most recent.
Yeah.
And it, of course, features the first Scottish Doctor as well. That must have been a real joy when you were told you've got Sylvester.
Yeah, so I knew it was a pitch for Sylvester, so I knew it would sort of work with Don Quixote and Ace, and that's an idea I've had for ages. And yeah, Sylvester, so my dad lives in Dunoon. Obviously Sylvester's from Dunoon, so there's a sort of connection there as well. He was my Doctor growing up. It's the bucket list, right, to work with the Doctor that you had growing up. So to get a chance to do that with Sylvester was, yeah, bucket list is the word. It was just phenomenal. And he's a very nice man. He is an ingenious gentleman, and he really doesn't disappoint when you meet him either, because he is one of a kind. I think that's fair to say.
Very much so. When they made Sylvester, the mould was destroyed, not just broken.
Yeah, he's great. I met him actually when I knew I'd been commissioned, I believe, and I went to the Slapstick Festival, and I met him there. He was receiving a Slapstick award, and he was just phenomenal. But I knew that we were probably gonna, touch wood, if the script had, wasn't a complete disaster, then we were going to be working together, and I knew that, but I couldn't say anything at the time, which was kind of strange but delightful.
Yeah, love that. So did you have to do a lot of research into Don Quixote? Because he's somebody who was sort of like known a bit about, like the basic outline, but I didn't really sort of know too much about the history. So then, having listened to it, went away and did a read up and thought, there we go.
Yeah, Don Quixote is something I discovered it quite late. in life, and maybe my mid-20s, I sort of came across Don Quixote and just connected with it immediately. I have a shelf of sort of collected versions of Don Quixote, and I have a painting on the wall next to me of Don Quixote. I'm right up in my Don Quixote merch game. It's just surprisingly little merch for that old Spanish novel, but it is out there. And yeah, it's just always just resonated with me as a story, and being such a big Doctor Who fan, it just felt like the most natural of fits. So there was quite a lot of research, but it's weird with Don Quixote because there's so many translations of it as well, and they're all slightly different, and I had to be careful not to take directly from any translation of it too much, because I don't know how that works legally. So I was sort of taking the essence of the famous scenes of the windmills and some of the famous sayings that are in it, and trying to sort of reword them a little bit, and hopefully keep in mind that not everyone knows Don Quixote that well. So hopefully not that it should be teaching you anything, but hopefully it gives you a taste of it without being too much like a textbook. Hopefully.
Yeah. When did you first discover him? Where did you first discover him?
Don Quixote, that is a good question. I think it might have been from the Terry Gilliam documentary, the one, Lost in La Mancha, about the film that never happened, the film that went wrong. I think that was when I first saw. I'd heard of it, I knew what it was, but I don't think I'd really ever been that interested in following it up. And I remember just getting the novel, which is like a brick, and just deciding that I was going to read it. I was in that student phase where I was like, I'm very clever and I can read big books, and so I just read Don Quixote and loved it, and then started getting a little bit obsessed with it.
It's understandable why, when you've got an engaging, charismatic, slightly enigmatic character with a strange origin that you never quite get, and then there's something about that kind of character that really works. Yeah,
and it's funny. It's a hilarious book as well. The comedy's really, it's that kind of comedy I like, where there's a tragedy to it, and I think, or a pathos to it, or whatever it is, and it's something that tone is something that Doctor Who does really well, of that sort of pathos mixed with silly. It's a bit silly.
And then, of course, getting Sancho Panza in there as well, who, of course, is such a great foil. And it is just like that, to use the phrase, the Robert Holmes double act, the Holmesian double act kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something. I mean, we'll get on to the fact that obviously Big Finish managed to get Simon Callow in the part of Don Quixote, which was just completely insane. But he was very much of that opinion that they are one of the greatest double acts of all time. And I think part of him, don't want to speak for the man, but I think part of his reason for wanting to do it is that he feels more people should be aware of these characters because they are so interesting.
You must have been shocked when you heard that Simon had been cast. Who had you got in mind when you were writing it?
I mean, it sounds strange, but the honest answer is that I just had Don Quixote in mind when I was writing it. However, Don Quixote's voice just is Simon Callow. The performance that he does is exactly it. And I knew, because there was a little bit of delay in recording it, because I knew that Samuel Clemens, who was directing it, really wanted to get someone of note in to play Don Quixote. He felt like it was too good an opportunity to miss. And I heard, the names, and Simon Callow was mentioned as a possibility, but to be honest, I just put it to the back of my mind as, pie in the sky kind of thinking. And then I got the email to say that he'd come on board to do it. I just couldn't quite believe that was what was happening. The day before the recording I don't think I slept a wink, because I just kept visualizing that day in the studio, which is 2 bucket lists for me. I'm ticking off my childhood Doctor and Don Quixote. So yeah, and just praying that I'd done justice to both of them at the same time.
He brings so much relish to the part, because he's really enjoying sort of being sort of the arrogance and the ultra supreme confidence in the part, and he's so good.
Oh, he's just amazing. He when we went in first thing in the morning, and the opening scene is the first one we recorded with Simon, where Don Quixote's in the bedroom and all his books have been burned, and he realizes that strange things are afoot. It's just that whole scene, and him, and massive shout out as well, Echo Quarty, who played Sancho, was utterly brilliant, because that's a really hard one to get right, I think. But he just brought so much heart to the character, and he's so funny, but there's no desperation in the comedy. Sancho is just funny. Like, he's just not all there. He's great. And he brought that without trying too hard. But yeah, that opening scene with Echo and Simon Callow, I don't know how many takes they did, but certainly after the first one, everyone, especially me, there's a massive sigh of relief and just a spontaneous applause of like, wow, this is proper. I was so excited to hear it. Yeah, it just felt like real.
Yeah, there's something so nice about just that when you're sitting back in the sound house and just listening to the recordings going on, and you can see them through that glass window, and just everybody having such a great time, such a good atmosphere that it's quite hard to put across, because people in the CD extras always sort of going, oh, it's a great time, it's a lovely day, and it is exactly like that. It genuinely is. It's not a cliche or being put on for the microphones. It genuinely is a good fun day.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, great. And the same with recording Paternoster and stuff. I mean, that gang are just a riot. They're just so fun. But yeah, those Big Finish days, I want more. Hopefully there's more.
Dear Matt Fitton.
Yeah.
Let's move on to pattern nonsense. Let's move on to...
It is pattern nonsense.
It is.
That's quite good.
Patter's a good term, of course, for Scottish. A good Scottish word, the patter. We did the Glasgow Doctor Who group fanzine back in the day, and it was Paisley Pattern. And the letters page was Paisley Patter, I think, for a wee while. So.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
There we go.
Paisley Pattern nonsense.
Yeah, but it was good fun. It was really good fun. You got to write for another Scottish person here, and indeed somebody from Paisley, and Niamh McIntosh. So
yeah, absolutely.
What a fantastic trio they are to write for.
I hesitate to use the word easy to write for. They are easy to write for because they're so distinctive, and any time you're stuck for a moment in a scene or anything, one of them fills it perfectly. One of those characters is just ready to pounce on a scene and give it something exciting. The obvious one being Strax, who can just sit there in a scene and deliver one line, and it just tears the scene apart in the most brilliant way. But yeah, I got a few Scottish references in there as well. Strax pays for his fish and chips the Scottish way, which is with violence. And then he pays in the English method, which is to pay and then be violent. So managed to get quite a lot of that in there. Of course, Strax invented shinty in my script.
Yes.
The most brutal of all sports.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got a few references in there. But yeah, those guys were... Yeah, that whole cast was just, again, it does sound like a cliche to say how fun the studio days were, but that was particularly fun. They have a real habit of really finding any innuendo that you have inadvertently written into your script and ruining your whole day by giggling at it and making sure that you know that, subconsciously they know that you are filthy. There was a few lines that were very tough to get through, which I won't say here because no one will ever listen to the drama and not think it when they hear it. But the eagle-eyed listeners, what am I talking about? Eagle-eyed listeners will probably find them. There's a game.
Yeah.
Find the line that the cast couldn't get through.
Oh, I do like a good innuendo. I love it when people slip one in. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, good.
Did I get you there?
Yeah, you got me. Yeah, I wasn't on my toes.
Told you, film comedian. I used to support Frankie Boyle in the 90s. So.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Was it all innuendo based?
No, it wasn't. I just one or two, but yeah, the rest of it was just more storytelling and all genuine stuff based on real life experiences in journalism. So
I want to hear that now.
Oh, sadly, an audio recording of my performances don't exist. My early scripts might be somewhere which Frankie scribbled on and suggested adding put some structure into.
Well, there's a podcast special for you. You can recreate the old routine.
Some of it's very visual, though, particularly when I tell my story about abseiling off the Hilton
Any
in Glasgow.
excuse.
Yeah, because have you ever abseiled?
Is that an innuendo?
No, it is not.
Oh, okay. Then I don't think I have. Maybe
No.
a little bit in a cave. Does that count?
Yeah, that would count. Well, I abseiled off the Hilton, and when you're doing that, you've got to get one. You've got to one of your hands is behind your back to hold the rope, as like your right hand sort of like controls the descent, and the one at your back sort of like just like helps slow you down and so on, and keeps the rope in place. And I was bouncing down the side of the Hilton, went down at record speed. It was a really wet day, and my trainers were skating off the surface. And by the time I got to the bottom, the guy who'd started 2 minutes before me, I was finished 2 minutes before him, because I just got down because I really, really hate heights. But it was for charity, so I was doing it for a feature for the paper. And when I got to the bottom, they're like, "Okay, but you can go, you can let go now." And my left hand was absolutely locked like that. I wouldn't have minded so much, but I'm right-handed, so anyway, it's a visual gag for the YouTube viewers there.
I think they can fill in the gaps.
Yes,
that was another one. What has happened?
I know, it's very handy, these jokes, but there we go.
Yeah, I just have a habit, I come on here and I try and talk about my literary inspirations in Don Quixote and Cervantes and working with legends like Simon Cowell, and I just end up making innuendos with another Scotsman. That is typical.
Yeah, I pulled you down to my level, which I'm delighted with.
I appreciate it.
Excellent.
I'm much more comfortable.
It saves you from getting too arty-farty and highbrow, so yes. That's what we like to do. A little bit of lowest common denominator humour, but we also are capable of the highbrow. See our Mysterious Planet episode. Anyway.
Well done.
Yes, quite. It actually does get quite highbrow at some point, so there we go. Let's talk more about the Paternosters. Did you get much of a brief of that? Because, of course, this is part of an ongoing series, and you did, I think it was episode 10, I'm Married to Saigon.
Yeah, so that was part of the, correct me if I'm wrong, Trespassers.
Yes.
The series. So I knew that there was Zygon shenanigans. I still feel weird saying some of this stuff, even though it's no longer a spoiler. But yes, Zygon shenanigans. And I knew that it had to end in a certain, in a certain hint at what was going to come next. So it was a little bit out with the arc and just furthering the villain's plans. That was really the only brief that I was very open, and I think I pitched basically a gothic mansion horror, like a ghost story type thing, which I think Matt was rather surprised they hadn't done before with Paternoster or at least not very often. So yeah, that was the pitch. And then I wanted to bring in Harriet Cross, the technology-driven supernatural ghost hunter who doesn't believe in ghosts but desperately wants to catch one. I just wore my Ghostbusters love on my sleeves, so it's just a steampunk Ghostbuster, which seemed to fit into Paternoster quite well.
Yeah, it's such a fun series to listen to. That's the thing. I think that on TV they're great. I mean, it's hard to believe we haven't seen them on screen since 2014 in Capaldi's first episode, and that's been it.
Yeah, it's mad. Hopefully, maybe one day. That would be nice, because they're brilliant.
And fun. I think that's the great thing. They had, considering so much of stuff that went on in the Moffat era was quite dark, but they were just these glowing lights that just made you laugh.
Yeah, and they all really, I want to say embody, which, but you can see them on audio, if that makes any sense. Like, they really, there's so much energy to what they're doing. You can just see Strax and you can see Vastra, and, it's just brilliant. I love those guys. I'd love to work with them again at some point. It was a fun day.
Yeah, I'll bet it was. And they're all such great company, which is great, having sort of been lucky enough to interview the three of them separately and together. And yeah, I just giggled in their company. So yeah. So let's move on. The Comedy Playhouse.
Speaking of lowest denominator comedy.
Yes, the cracks are showing.
I'm referring to mine. I haven't heard the other plays, I'm sure.
I thought you were talking about your crack was showing there, sorry.
Yeah, I see what we did there. Yeah. So, this is a hard one to describe. I'm amazed that it got made at all. But these are characters that me and Si have been sort of playing around with for years, really. I think the first sketch we ever did, we got together it's nearly 20 years ago now, and just messed around and created a couple of characters, one of which was Mr. Scroat, who works in the job centre, and Boris Karloff, no relation, who was a genius that was forced into a retail job, which consisted of retailing things that had lost their tails. So that gives you an idea of the kind of weirdness. But we wrote this whole idea about a journey through an updated Dante's Inferno. So Hell has had to move with the times and update everything. So yeah, Boris goes for a job to be an office scapegoat and journey through hell with William Blake in order to try and discover where humankind's misery originates.
Any character called Mr. Scroat has got my attention. That's Barnaby Edwards, isn't it?
Yeah. So this one we had Edwards plays Mr. Scroat as our foil. Cy plays William Blake, Boris's spirit guide through the afterlife, and I play Boris Karloff, as he goes by on his journey, just generally being thrown around hell and trying to work out what's going on. And yeah, it's intended to be the first part. We've actually Cy is the, I hope he doesn't mind me saying, but I feel like he's the genius behind this story. Cy is a very strange man, which is why I enjoy working with him so much. His ideas and his just the amount of research he does and his knowledge that he puts into his comedy is a treasure trove. However, it's probably incomprehensible to most humans, and we just click and really enjoy working together and sort of trying to find a way to make it accessible and funny, but keep all these mad ideas that he has. So he's been off researching the other parts of the commedia, of the Divine Comedy, and so there, hopefully there will be further adventures. That would be nice. They're certainly out there waiting to happen.
Fingers crossed. I think that's a great thing. It's something different from Big Finish, the fact that we've got these 8 different scripts in there. And of course, those looking for more information about them all can find them all in the current issue of Vortex, www.bigfinish.com/Vortex, and we'll be able to read all about them. In fact, I think this just came in the post today. I think I've actually got my copy of the current issue here. Ooh. There we go with the Halloween October issue.
Yeah, spooky
previewing the
spooky
November
TARDIS,
releases.
I like that.
Yep. So yes, this is Vortex issue number 200, in fact. And yeah, there's 4 pages on the Comedy Playhouse in there. So there we go. We've got plug-in for your work and for mine, but my work is plugging yours, so it's all good. That cannot be narcissistic in that case.
No, that's fine. No, I appreciate that. But yeah, I was told, whether this is true or not remains to be seen, but I was told by our fantastic director of the Cracks of Showing, which is Helen Goldwyn, who really took care of her and Jonathan Morris, who was our script editor. I just can't praise them highly enough for the work that they did on bringing it to life, because it is a strange script, which I'm used to, but to come at it fresh is quite weird. But some of the suggestions that Johnny had and Helen's direction, especially with me and Cy being in the studio on that side of the glass for the first time, was quite intimidating, but she was just made it really easy, really funny, hopefully. But she did say she does have a cameo in the show, which I will leave as a surprise, but that was very funny. But she did also suggest that maybe we've recorded the rudest scene in Big Finish history.
Oh, well, that's me. I'm on board.
It's pretty bad.
I'm so on board.
It's a far cry from Don Quixote, I'll tell you. It's both ends of the spectrum.
Excellent. That's very much up my street then. I like it.
Another innuendo. Very good.
Oh, as it were, yes. Yes, now it's your turn to do it. Yes, you caught me unawares. Damn it. 1 each.
Yes. Listeners, you can't see what he just did, but it was very
absolutely rude. It was exceptionally rude. But how long have you been down south now?
How long have I been in south? Now you're asking. Maybe around just over 20 years. I think maybe 2002 I came more or less permanently. Yeah, and that was just mainly for work, and my girlfriend lived here, so that's how that ended up happening. Yeah, but studied in Glasgow, studied film and TV there, had many lovely times in Glasgow, and then came to the big smoke to chase my dreams, as they say.
Yeah, and of course you got to all the lovely police boxes in Glasgow when you were here.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Are they still there?
Yeah, there's 6 left in the streets. We did a campaign to save them in the Glasgow Doctor Who group back in '93, working with the Glasgow Building Preservation Trust. I've still got all the paperwork and the documentation, and it came in handy for a Doctor Who magazine feature about 7-8 years ago.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a while since I've been in town in Glasgow. I often visit family in Paisley and Dunoon, but it's a while since I've been in town, so I was worried the police boxes might have gone the way of the dodo.
Still there.
Amazing.
One dematerialised temporarily while they were doing some work in Sauchiehall Street, and it's now back. It's the one that Stephen Moffat was pictured outside with about 2 years ago. He stopped and did one just up at the upper end. Not the red one, but the blue one.
Is that the one that was briefly a coffee shop?
It was falafels more recently.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's now back doing them. So
time falafels. Yeah. Temporal falafels.
Yeah, the one round in Wilson Street is now doing cheese sandwiches, like grilled cheese throughout the day, and they smell amazing. Never had one yet. I'm also slightly concerned that they'd cut the door in half so they could make it into like top half opens to serve customers, and not so sure about that, but doors can be replaced.
I have very fond memories, particularly the Sauchiehall Street one. That's the jewel in the crown of TARDISes, I think.
I just said the Buchanan Street one that was the first one to be refurbed because
I'm thinking of the Buchanan Street. Am I? Now I'm trying to remember.
Outside Lush, as it is now, which would have been outside Borders previously.
Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of. And at some point you could look inside it.
Yes, there was and it looked bigger inside. There was an optical illusion. Yeah, they called it, what was it, Glasgow's smallest art gallery or something like that. So.
Yeah. Near the Warner Brothers store.
That's the one.
We're just reminiscing now. Do they still have any red ones?
Yes, there's the one, that's the cannabis one. They call it CBD TARDIS. I hope the BBC aren't listening because that may be nicking copyright, and also in terms of cannabis, probably not a good promo thing for Doctor Who, but...
Well, see, I'd accept a cheese sandwich from a blue TARDIS, but I don't know if I would accept anything, let alone CBD, from a red TARDIS.
But that was the original colour in Glasgow, because they were maintained by the Royal Mail, and obviously that was their corporate colour.
As a child, I just assumed it was the Master's TARDIS.
Probably would be. Since 1974, they've all been blue when Strathclyde Regional Council took over their... God, I told you I know all this stuff.
It really is a deep dive into the TARDISes of Glasgow.
Yeah.
Have you got an episode on that?
Do you know what? We haven't. Maybe should do.
There you go.
There's a thought. Maybe get Alistair McGowan from the Doctor Who magazine to come on.
I think that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, actually, I'm just that genuinely. I'm noting that down. So, yeah, maybe speak to Liz Davidson from the Glasgow Building Preservation Trust. So, anyway, that's another podcast.
I'm glad to have brought that notion to the front.
Absolutely. So, Al, where can people find you on social media if they want to follow you and find out what you and the Electric Head are up to?
Best place is on Instagram. I'm not on that much social media, but Instagram I tend to use, and you can find me under Things Al Saw, all lowercase, if that makes a difference these days. And myself and Si, you can follow the Electric Head on Electric Head Comedy on Instagram. Yeah, I imagine we'll be posting some bits and pieces once the Comedy Playhouse comes out. We took a bit of a social media break when we got back from Edinburgh Fringe this year because we were a little bit burnt out from a month of intense social media. But yeah, hopefully we're going to be booking some new gigs in the new year. We tend to perform at the Museum of Comedy in London. We had a residency there for the last couple of years. So we may get back to that, see how things go. But yeah, we'll definitely be popping up soon, I wouldn't imagine. When you least suspect it.
Well, there we go. People know where to follow you now, so hopefully you'll get some extra followers and bums on seats, because you know what Doctor Who fans are like. They like people to sign things.
Yeah, I'm happy to sign anything. That's always fun. You can find Electric Head everywhere, like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever they are. They're all probably there. Yeah,
brilliant. Al, thank you so much for taking the time to come and have a chat with us in the Power of Three. It's been good fun.
It's been lots of fun, yeah. Thank you for having me. Hope to come back at some point. And...
Absolutely. Get yourself another commission and we'll have you on. Never a problem. That's a promise.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you.
Well, there we go. You can go to bigfinish.com and order all of Al's Doctor Who output, as well as, of course, the comedy. And Dark Shadows is still available as well. if you've enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to pop over to your podcast provider of choice and leave us a review. You can follow us on social media. We're at Power of 3 Pod. That's on Twitter. We're on Blue Sky at Finished Zine. And of course, we have a Facebook group as well. So come on and leave a comment if you've enjoyed today's episode. And if you didn't, well, we're very sorry. So, time is against us. And we are going to play out now with a song, as we always do. And we are going to head back to July 1985. And we're going to listen to a track from Nick Kershaw, which was the final single from his album The Riddle. And this reached number 10 in the UK singles chart in September 1985. And it's called, you probably won't be surprised to know, Don Quixote. Until next time, I've been Kenny Smith. Bye-bye.